Welcome to Letting Go with Aloha. I have an extremely intriguing guest all the way from Norway. Her name is Olesia Chayko. She's a certified NeuroGraphica instructor, which we will find out more from Olesia, and a coach from the Institute of Psychology of Art. Olesia has embarked on a transformative journey after facing challenges of failed relationships, unfulfilling work, and a disconnection from herself. And she's discovered that NeuroGraphica's extremely transformative powers blended creativity, psychology, and mindfulness. And so she's currently dedicated to empowering individuals and guiding them to self-discovery, self-belief, and the purpose of unlocking limitless possibilities. So let's welcome Olesia.
Thank you, Karen, for presenting me. So it's an honor for me to be here. Thank you for inviting me to this talk. So it's very, very nice to be here today. And as you said, yeah. So what I'm doing is that I help people to achieve their dreams easy and faster, so that they live life on their terms with passion and purpose. So it's just a short, presentation of what I do. And, to get to that moment where I am now, to that point in life, as you can imagine, and also that came from my presentation, I've taken quite a journey, and it was a long journey for me to get here. And if you ask me, for example, about 7-8 years ago, what I do for life, professionally, my answer would be, well, I don't know, like I do something in finance, but I don't want to talk about it. So, that was it. Because, for me, anytime, like I had to talk about what I do professionally, since I was so unhappy, with what I did, and I didn't love at all, what I was doing, for living. So then anytime people would ask me about what I do and, talk about myself in this sense, I would say, like, for me, it would be like spending even more time on something that I hate. So, it was, it was very painful, for me. So, but then, I got to that point where I decided, like, I cannot live my life like that anymore. So I want to do something. I want to do what I love and love what I do. And but I didn't know where to start, because like I didn't have that connection. Like I lost that connection with myself. And I started with okay, what do I like? I don't know what I like. Like a lot of things, but how do I do that? Professionally. So they go and study something again, like they start here, they start there. So like it was very, very painful for me, to understand, like that I'm lost, like, and I got to that existential crisis, if you like, where I was thinking, like, I don't know who I am. And, like I ended up being in a therapy, like, that was, they, actually, this is what I came with, put it on the table. I don't know what I want. So, I can hear everything and everybody around me, but the only person that I want to hear and I cannot is myself. Mm-hmm. And then, through like all that, my journey, to get to NeuroGraphica. So like, I decided, I set a goal, and I set a goal and I said to myself, I'm not going to quit until I find out what I want. What I want to do professionally. So then I do it, and it gives me purpose and it gives me passion, and that people can benefit also from what I do, so it can be useful to people, with, like with my profession. So this is how I started several years ago. And, I did studies, and, I was happy with doing the psychology studies and such, I realized, like when I started doing that, I got on my path, but I didn't know where it was leading me to. So it was still not exactly, I was thinking, okay, I like it. I really like it, but this is not exactly like, how I picture that. Mm-hmm. And that, and it was in a very particular moment in my life how I discovered NeuroGraphica. It was during my studies, and also I had, this, as you also read in my presentation, so that it was a number of failed relationships. So, and it brought me to some painful moments. Like, I had that recurring memory, like recurring thought I was coming back to, like for a very long time, for about like 15 months. So, and I didn't know what to do with that, like with that thought, how to get rid of it. The only thing that I wanted to do is to get rid of that thought, but it was still coming back to me, like, all the time. So like this neural path, like those connections, like in my brain, they were so strong. So like I was running, all the time, like that thought, like when I was waking up, during the day, going to sleep, sometimes I was dreaming, this. So it was so exhausting. So, and I tried, I cannot say I tried everything, but I tried, like things, and, like explained to myself. I got help, to explain to myself why I was thinking about, like that certain person all the time, even though I didn't want to. So, but it still didn't solve my problem. So, and then somebody recommended me, like a colleague recommended me, this to try this method, and I was skeptical about it, because I was thinking, okay, like, some kind of drawing is supposed to do something from you, really? I don't think that's going to work. But I'm very curious by nature, and luckily my curiosity has always been bigger than my my skepticism. So I decided, okay, I might as well try that one. Why not? Okay, let's see what what I can get out of it. So, and yeah, I tried it once. I got a session, and then something, something started happening, and the result was very surprising, to say the least. So, and it was like, the next day, in the next morning when I woke up. So, because, I was like, this Pavlov's dog, like that was, once you wake up, something starts happening. And I knew that thought was supposed to come, like, because it usually did when I would wake up with the alarm clock. So, but that day that it didn't happen, something else happened, like, I started thinking about that. But then, the thought was interrupted. So, and like my eyes, did that very quick movement, like zigzag movement, and it felt like, the pots were breaking or something, like in my brain. So, and I thought, oh, this is something new. This is interesting. And I tried to come back, to the same thought, because I didn't believe, like in what happened, like I just wanted to test it. So, and I was trying to come back, during the day, and the result was the same, like, was the beginning, but there was no continuation. So, like those pathways, neural pathways in my brain were interrupted. I was thinking, this is interesting. So, like the therapist recommended, 2 more sessions to fix the results. So I did that. So, and that thought left me forever. So, like, I never thought, like about this thing anymore. And then I got even more curious. I was thinking, okay, like, there should be an explanation for that. There should be like an explanation, and I'm going to find it. So, like, I found the creator of the method. Like, there is a school. There's Psychology of Creativity Institute. That he's leading, and yeah, and I decided to study. So, and as soon as I got into those studies, I felt like this is something that I want to do. So it had, that great effect on me. And as soon as I just started, I wanted to share it with other people, because, like, I want, I like to call myself in a way like the ambassador, for this method as well, because I want to share it with people, to the tool, that they can use, that can help them, to solve, like different problems in their lives. So for me, it started, with this. So, but it's not limited to relationships only. Like, it can be any area of your life. It can be finances. I don't know, like, anything, career, like whatever, like people may have, problems with. So it has, you can use NeuroGraphica for anything and everything in your life. So, and this is about my journey. It is how I came to this, and like I finally started feeling passionate about what I do, and then I realized, okay, like when I was going back, when I to like several years before that, when I put it as a goal that I'm not going to stop until I find out what I like to do, and I do it with passion. So I realized when I came to NeuroGraphica, and like then that happened, for me. So then I, from almost day one, I wanted to share it with other people. I understood that this is what I want to do, that this is my passion. So and it also has a purpose for me. So like then finally, my life, got that purpose, and that and what I want to do. I love what I do, and I do what I love. So it's very powerful for me. So and I want and it's also powerful for people, for like with whom I work. So like the results, the feedback, like I receive from people, it always brings me back to my first experience with NeuroGraphica, because people say pretty much the same. I don't know how that happened, but that happened. Like all those things that I've been wanting in my life for a very long time, this finally started happening for me. So and I don't know how that happens, but I'm so happy about it.
It's so
So
amazing. So what I'd like to do, sorry, is we're going to take a quick break, and Alicia is
mm,
going to show us an actual masterpiece that you created, and we'll learn more. So stay tuned.
yes.
Mafe Management is a company dedicated to empowering individuals and businesses in PR and marketing, social media management, online show and podcast production, business consulting, graphic design, photography and videography, workshops and classes, events management, personality development, logo creation, illustrations, and animation. In working together to turn their dreams into reality. Get one step closer to elevating yourself and your business by contacting hello@mafemanagement.com. Let us empower you.
Well, Alicia, let's see this. And I was just looking at it briefly, and it said it can also help with pain management.
Yeah, well, it depends. It can help, with pain management, but of course, like it depends, to work, like with some medical issues, especially some serious medical issues. I would, like if people want, to get the help, from NeuroGraphica, for example. So now I'm advising them to find someone who actually has, the education, medical education, because that's it's always tricky to work with health issues. So and there are people who take also NeuroGraphica as as an additional tool, and they're doctors, and then I would I always tell people to do the background check, and because like with some serious medical issues, like I would consult other specialists as well, how safe it would be for people to do that. But like for I use NeuroGraphica also for if I have headaches, or like some pain in the neck or something, like, and I want to explore that pain. So like I also use NeuroGraphica as a tool. But like for example, I would say like for some cancer issues or something, like I wouldn't specifically go there, like with the person. I would seek for like you need to have a special education to work with people like that.
I think I just
So
read about just headaches. Someone had just consistent headaches, and she was just shocked. Like you said, how can this happen with just drawing lines? And so can you show us what it looks like?
I can show it to you what it looks like. And I can actually, well, in January, I myself had an episode of severe headaches, that I never had before in my life. So, and it was you know, and I did a drawing on that, you know, as well. So I'm trying to find, you know, perhaps that drawing in particular. So I had, you know, this really, really strong feeling that I want to draw when I got a bit better, because it was quite bad. So I drew this thing.
Wow. Oh, we have a someone online, Elisa Richardson, a classmate. She said hello from Colorado. And I
Okay.
think a lot of us who are experiencing, right, either anxiety or just emotional pain, you know, can you, that is beautiful. So when you start it, do you know beforehand what it might turn into, or you just go with the flow?
I can never, I don't know what it's going to turn into, but you
Hmm.
know, like this one in particular, like there in NeuroGraphica, we have, you know, different, you know, algorithms. So it may sound, you know, weird because, you know, this is something, you know, very mathematical, but, you know, like algorithm, if we think about it, it just, you know, it's a special, you know, it's a set of steps, you know, right, you know, that we follow. So it's like, you know, kind of a program, you know, like, and the steps, you know, like are repeating. So, but also, and in NeuroGraphica, we have different those different algorithms. So that one in particular, it's I don't know if you noticed, you know, like it looks like a flower.
Hmm.
So there is this algorithm that is called NeuroLotus. So, and I felt like this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted something. I felt like, you know, I need to open, you know, like something inside. So to let it free. So this is why I chose, you know, this one. But you know, it depends. You know, for example, you know, some people. It depends what people feel at that moment when they have a headache or something. So, like, if somebody came to me, like, you know, with the issue of headache, you know, I would of course first ask questions to understand what the person feels at that moment. So then I would decide what algorithm I would be using for working with that person in particular. So there is no universal, you know, recipe like on okay, like, you know, if you have a headache, so this is what I'm going to do, you know, like with that person. Or if you have a pain in your leg, you know, this is another algorithm I'm going to use. It's not like that. I will be asking, you know, a series of questions, you know, to understand what exactly happened to person, what activated it, because there are always, you know, preceding you know, events and you know, some situation or something that caused, you know, that headache, for example, if we're talking about the headache, right? So it's a lot of, you know, the psychological work, you know, as well. It's like, you know, coaching work as well, you know, to guide that person through. And I can never know, like, you know, what the result is going to be. The results are always unexpected. So start with one thing, you know, like it leads to another thing.
Hmm.
So and like yeah, so I can show something else, you know, like that I worked on. So and here is a different thing, you know, like it looks like this.
Wow.
So here I worked on designing my desired cash flow. Right? So like
Wow.
how I want to receive money, let's say, like, you know, how my income is going to, you know, to flow. So I put here in this drawing, you know, different projects. And NeuroGraphica is an abstract form of art. So we do not use direct symbols here. So like what we use the geometric forms. And the lines, you know, the neurographic lines. So the neurographic line is that asset in NeuroGraphica, so that makes the difference, because there is a special technique on how we draw the neurographic line. So and this is what people learn, you know, like when they come to master classes or then they come to sessions and something. So like there is and you would be surprised, you know, like because we think, you know, people always think, okay, like the line goes as like, you know, something intuitive, but actually it's a counterintuitive movement. So there is, as I said, you know, the special way how we draw the line. So we draw it not where our hand wants to move, but, you know, like we observe where the hand wants to move and we move it in the opposite direction. We change the direction. So, and what it does, so it takes you out of those usual, habitual thinking patterns we have, and we find new solutions. So when the ones that we haven't seen before. So this is how we come, to creativity, actually. So because we are working on our imagination, and when we put those geometric forms. So this is like, and those forms, this is a part of the neurographical language. So those patterns, so we give the meanings to them. So we NeuroGraphica, if you like, it's a language of coding, how to code the information in our brain.
Wow.
And there is, like the process, how to do that. And I find it fascinating, myself. So, and this is why I'm passionate about it, because every time we create a drawing on a certain topic, a topic in question, like in a problem we have and want to resolve a conflict or anything we want to resolve in life. So there is always something new, something different. We're creating something different and new all the time, because all those geometric forms, a square is a square, like you may say, but it's not always a square. In the same drawing, like you can put 5 squares and they will all mean something different to you. But then, like it's the NeuroGraphica instructor, like who is guiding you through this, asking you questions. There is a process how you give the meanings, to all those, shapes, and also to the color. Color is also the tool for coding the information. So, but on a different level. So, and NeuroGraphica is built on the pyramid of consciousness. So I'm not going to explain, like what it is, because it's otherwise it's going to be a whole lecture. But so, and it's quite complex, to understand. So, but it's when we do the drawing. So as I said, there is an algorithm, and this pyramid, of consciousness. This is how the algorithm is built. So we're starting with our with our actual consciousness, and then we go deeper into our selfhood, like this, you may say, like higher self or something. Like we get the information from there, and we put new insights, and we bring it into our actual consciousness. So to put it simply, as simple as I could do, but there is the whole process, how we're moving in this consciousness pyramid. So yeah.
So interesting, isn't it? I mean, coding the brain, you would think that it would not be possible just with, like you said, lines and colors. What I find intriguing is doing the opposite of where your hand wants to go. I mean, that alone must cause your brain to think, wait a minute, why aren't you following my direction, right?
Yeah, and this is and I hear it again and again, from people who come to master classes, or people who work individually with me. So that once they learn, like it's also like it takes a little bit of time, to learn the neurographic line. It takes a little bit of practice, but everybody can do that. So it's you don't need to be a genius, to do that. So like anybody and everybody can do that. But it takes a little bit of practice, like with anything else. But even with no practice, people start noticing, the results almost immediately, like, while they're doing that, like they start thinking, something, new comes, to mind. And they, oh, like, I didn't think about that before. Oh, like, I didn't. And then it continues, like, then people, send me messages. And the day after, I realized this and that. And then, like I got, even more insights, and like it's just, and I know that feeling myself, because I was in that situation, myself, when I started with NeuroGraphica, and I still experience those things, like every time I draw. So it's a very interesting process, exciting, process, and anybody who would like to, I guess, I don't know, experience, like, who's stuck in life. And wants to find, wants to find new solutions, new ideas. I would encourage them to try NeuroGraphica and see how that goes, because I'm sure, that they will be fascinated by the process itself and the result that it's going to bring, to their life.
Wow, it sounds fascinating. How can people reach you if they want to work with you and learn more about NeuroGraphica?
They can reach me on Instagram. So because I have different links, attached to my profile. So easiest way, to reach out for me there. And yeah, I have, all the information there.
I see at NeuroGraphica _ borderless.
Yes.
Is that on Instagram? Wow, thank you so much. I've heard of it. I know you did a workshop with Atia Chaudhry, and I've always been interested. My passion is the brain. So whenever I learn, I saw you doing it, I'm thinking, wow, this is something that I really want to learn more about. So anyone who feels stuck, feeling some kind of, it sounds like it helps with like emotional, right? Either emotional
yeah,
paths.
yeah, it works with emotions, like we work with when we draw in NeuroGraphica and when we go through all those steps in the algorithm. So at any step, we always have to we always pay attention. We ask ourselves the question, what do we feel exactly at that moment? Are there any thoughts, that popping up in my brain, like in my mind, at this moment? Are there any images on my inner screen? Do I see anything? Something, like it's popping up. And those three, feelings, emotions, thoughts, and images, what do they mean to me in relation to my topic at this moment in time? So, and those, and we have to analyze, go through this process all the time. So, it's a very deep, psychological process that we're going through, while we are drawing. So, and it's not like, we just sit down and, do the drawing. And as I just said, this is kind of also misconception that people, get when they see the NeuroGraphica drawings, it looks beautiful, it's fascinating, but it's actually, it's also hard work, to go through that, it's rewarding for sure. So, but it's it may people may experience, people get, tired, exhausted, because there is a lot of brain activity that is involved. It's it's emotional activity, it's brain activity, it's analytical activity all the time. So it's a lot of everything, components that come in together to get that beautiful drawing. So, but the results are fascinating as well. So, and I always say, you solve the problem, and on the side, you also get a beautiful drawing that
Definitely.
you can, like a piece of art. And if someone is an artist already, and that person has, artistic skills, I'm not saying that it's easier for them, to draw NeuroGraphica. So it's in a way, it may be even more challenging for people who already have, who are artists, to draw NeuroGraphica, because they have already, those special skills, the school behind, how things need to be done. So, but NeuroGraphica is a little bit different. It's not, one of the main rules of NeuroGraphica says, the subject is more important than the object. That means, what's happening to me in the moment of drawing is more important than what I draw.
Wow.
So this is, you may say, it's a byproduct of what is happening to me, and it's the reflection of how we create. It's the reflection of neural connections in my brain, on certain topic. This is how, the neural connections, it's the projection of what happens in my brain while I am creating, in this case, my desired cash flow. So, the one, that showed, my headache, how I
Mm-hmm.
wanted, like my something to open inside so that, that headache would stop. So it helped, and also I got, a lot of ideas, while I was doing that. And, when we speak about, creativity, and creativity is very much connected to imagination and curiosity. So because people also have, that misconception that creativity is like, if you're not an artist, if you cannot draw or paint or, I don't know, play a musical instrument, that you're not creative. And it's not exactly about that. Creativity is a skill and has a much broader sense. It's basically the ability to generate and recognize ideas that can be used in problem solving, communication with people, and anything else, like that comes, that gives, inventions and, like all other things. And, and how we get to the creativity, we develop imagination, like, and, the motto of Psychology of Creativity Institute is imagination comes first.
Mm.
So we develop imagination, and then the question might be, okay, how do I develop imagination? Right? So and here imagination, like when we speak about how to develop imagination, one of the ways to develop imagination is to ask questions. So I want to think about, asking questions. When we ask questions, we get, like to curiosity. So at that state, like state where we want to get to, and like when I speak about children, say like, oh, they're curious, like what children do, they ask questions. They're interested in everything and anything around them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the key word here is interest. So be interested in things. So like then you're curious. So you're developing your imagination. And by developing your imagination, you're getting, new ideas, you're becoming more creative. So, and the one of the easiest ways, to become, curious is like, I always say like, okay, like, you get, for example, a person gets in an uncomfortable situation or something unpleasant where you would usually say, okay, like, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to see that person. And like, okay, I don't like that, like, I'll get out of here. So, but instead of doing that, just say to yourself, oh, how interesting. This is interesting. Or if you're experiencing, like some negative emotion as you perceive as a negative emotion and you don't want to experience it, like just in that very moment, just, be aware of that and tell to yourself, oh, how interesting that I'm experiencing that emotion. So, and what happens is that as soon as we say to ourselves, okay, this is interesting, what the brain starts doing, it starts creating or looking for solutions. So, and this is why, like, we're coming, in this loop, imagination, curiosity, creativity, right? And like you asked me also, before, like, how it can help, like children and parents to be creative. It's just exactly the same way, like getting into that state, like, everything and anything, is interesting. Whatever, like, just try for a change instead of, going with the habitual pattern. Like, say, okay, it's interesting. I don't know, like, something, I always perceive as negative, but this time say, like, it's interesting to me and see what happens then. And for children, for example, we come to here to the theory, let's say, of how it's called, I forgot the name. It's social learning.
Mm-hmm.
And social learning is about it's about, like to be like, to say it in short, it's about observation and imitating, observing and imitating. So because for children are very good and like, and it's not only about children, but it's like grown-ups as well. But in this particular, scenario, to get, your children to be more creative, it's the easiest way to do it is to set an example, because children, see what people do and they imitate, they observe and they imitate. So if they, and the parent is one of them, is the important, figure, in the life of a child. So if my parent does something like interesting, so something creative, as I say, that's creative, interesting to me. So like I will say, okay, like I will get interested, I will get curious, what's my mother or my father is doing. So setting an example like is the easiest way to encourage children to be creative. But social learning is not limited only to this, like it's about anything, like what we like what we or children see, like TV programs that may be interesting, like it's also related, it's also social learning, like we see, we imitate, we observe, we imitate, like we take sometimes the roles of those characters, from the like the children take the roles of the characters from the cartoons, and learn to do similar things. So, and it's also about like this creativity loop that we're getting into. Yeah. So
amazing. You know what I just realized when you said that about the creativity? So many, when I tutor, a lot of times it's like focus. Wait. No, we're not talking about that. Focus. But now we're stifling creativity, right? Because if we go into, oh, tell me more, even though it disrupts the learning process or say homework, it actually opens up their imagination. And I notice they're more focused because they are able to share, because like you said, constant curiosity. I might be talking about, I think we did this, talking about a rainforest. And he says, you know what I just saw yesterday? A spider. And and then usually it's like, okay, wait, let's go back to what we're supposed to be doing. But now after listening to you, it really is giving our children the opportunity to express their creativity, even when it has nothing to do with the subject at hand. Because then they, say, wait, are we focusing now? Come on, let's focus. And then you feel like, so thank you for that. I think any parent watching this, the lesson too is how to be in that mode of curiosity, especially when we're facing challenges or things are not going the right way. It's a lot of pressure, right? We're supposed to be doing homework. We're not going to be talking about spiders or sharks or whatever pops up.
Yeah.
But
homework is of course well, homework is necessary. That's a fact, like in the learning process.
Right.
But there is much more to this than rather doing the homework. And creativity can be stimulated in many different ways. Like for example, we all know Einstein, right? And we know what he did, like professionally, but like he had different hobbies, and one of his hobbies was to play violin. And according to people, his environment and people in his environment, he didn't do it very well, but that was not his goal. He was not playing the violin to become the like the best violin player. He played the violin to stimulate his creativity. So like his creativity was in scientific discoveries, as we know, right? Well, Sherlock Holmes did the same. He played the violin. So, but this is not what he's known for, right? He is known for his very unique ways of solving crimes. So, but like also the same process, like how do you stimulate that creativity? So, and again, coming back to what creativity is a skill. It's a skill that helps us to generate and to generate ideas, so that we use in problem solving and etc. etc. So then creativity can be stimulated in many different ways. So, and as I said, just on a daily basis, just ask you questions, or react to familiar situations that are not very comfortable or unpleasant, as we usually perceive them with a simple sentence. Oh, this is interesting. So,
well, let's close with that. This is interesting. So I invite anyone who goes on with their day after watching this to ask yourself, that's interesting, and watch where your brain goes. I'm about to leave for tutoring, and I'm going to do that the next time, because sometimes kids, oh, I don't want to do this. This is so hard. And it's interesting when I, make it fun. or have them just ask the right questions, all of a sudden, guess what? They can't stop writing. It's so funny. Can I write a little bit more? But I think once you stimulate that creativity, who knows what can happen. Thank you so much, Olesia. We might have to have part 2 because this is so intriguing. I think even if you are not into art, it's all about creativity and another way to solve our problems. I mean, who would not be interested in that? So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.